Hi, I'm Donald Price. I'm with Access Independence in Winchester, Virginia.
Thank you.
And that's with the presentation, hopefully.
Thank you.
And you are?
That's Diane. She's my administrative assistant for Access. Well, she's Access Independence's administrative assistant. For those of you that may not know who Access Independence are, we're an organization that promotes independent living for people with disabilities that live throughout the northern Shenandoah Valley, serve the counties of Clark, Shenandoah, Page, Warren, Frederick, and the city of Winchester. We've been around since 1985. And what Access Independence is, under the Rehab Act of 1973, we're formed as a center for independent living. It doesn't mean that we have consumers that stay at our facility. It just means that it's a place where we can collectively have resources to be able to give out to people that have questions about, how to deal with disability type of issues. This is just the second slide here. It's just a kind of a regional commission map of where the disability concentrations are in Warren County, or actually in our region. I'm sorry. So it kind of gives you the whole picture. And I can't actually say why some of them are there. So because we serve this whole region, but sometimes I'm always amazed at where they put people. So it's like, wow, I wonder what they do. Yeah. For 30 years, we've been trying to improve the life of and independence for people with disabilities, enhancing our communities, promoting rights, providing access to services, and creating opportunities for employment. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that. We provide 5 core services. We used to provide 4, but now we provide 5 with the changes in legislation. We do information referral, peer mentoring, systems advocacy, and independent living skills training. And then our last service that we kind of start with is transitioning. And what that involves is basically keeping people out of long-term care facilities, helping them get out of long-term care facilities, and working with our youth that are transitioning from secondary education into their secondary life. Some of the other services we provide are community awareness and education. We do presentations on ADA and universal design. We work with our transportation providers, healthcare providers, and we also do assistive technology. If any of you are familiar with like video phones for the deaf, and one of our employees teaches sign language and things like that to help people adjust in the community. This is just kind of a brief snapshot of our next page. Did I skip one? No, sorry. Kind of a brief snapshot of our revenue that we've had for the last 3 years. Kind of gives you kind of stabilized revenue-wise. It doesn't change a whole lot. It doesn't seem like some of them go up, some go down. It just depends on what we got going on. But we're about $600,000. Our budget's about $600,000. There's 13 employees, and we service out to the region, so we do a pretty good job of what we have. And the next slide shows our direct and our indirect, our non-direct service. So when I say direct involves a consumer, someone who needs to develop goals for themselves, some type of life skill area that they want to work on. They come in, we work with them, we have people that do that. And then our non-direct services are like where we're out in the community working with other organizations and meeting with the community at large to educate them on a particular disability type topic. And you can see that our hours are coming back up, which is what I like. Our non-direct was 1,881 and our direct was 908. So we have a lot of information referral, I'm sorry. That's where people call in and start the process. So we're either looking for information about a particular item or subject, or they're looking for help getting to the next level of something, trying to get out of change their life situation. That would be the best way to say it. And this is our Consumers My Area for the last 3 years. You can see Warren County is one of our growth areas. So we've been down here more often than we have in the past, doing more in this community. In Warren County, we participate in a lot of meetings with organizations in this area. We work with continuing care and social service organizations down here. We provide services to residents here to try to keep them from being institutionalized. And then we also have a fundraiser during the year where we try to raise community dollars that goes for ramps, home modifications, and assistive technology. And one of the things, okay. I also do Career Day, which I'm proud to say for 3 years in a row. Warren County's been the largest area for providing students for our Career Day. And basically what we do at Career Day is we have a vendor's fair and we have a trainings downstairs. It's like 2 levels where we're at, so we get to split it between those trainings, so we get to teach different life skill areas. For I think we're going to do 5 classes, 20 minutes apiece, and then at the upstairs is it gives the students time to mix with different employers and organizations that may be able to help them in their transitioning to secondary life. We also work with businesses, local governments on items related to the ADA and other disability issues. And then I put an invitation in here to anybody who wants to come to our Roll Your Own. It's going to be at Jameswood Middle School this year. And I hope to have a pretty good event, and we're trying to change. Roll Your Own is a wheelchair obstacles course that non-wheelchair users and wheelchair users roll. And usually the rollers try to raise funds for it. It goes back into the communities of this area. And what we also are trying to do is have more disability awareness events, so that maybe you'll be able to learn about other disabilities at the same time you're learning about how difficult it is to open a door while you're in a wheelchair. Okay, and I'll entertain any questions anybody might have.
No questions?
No questions?
I am happy to say thanks for coming in to visit.
And I'm happy to appreciate all that Warren County does for Access Independence and for its residents in Warren County with disabilities.
We run across people that need help, and I'll refer them, and Don's going to work with people to help them find resources, and whether they need a ramp or whatever else they're great.
We're going to do our best.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Have a good evening.
Appreciate it. Take care.
So I'm Jessica Priest-Cahill, been Executive Director at Habitat for Humanity.
I'm Amanda Slate, the president of Habitat for Humanity in Warren County.
So everybody's got your packet of information. Current funding is $7,500 a year. You've asked to increase to 10. Or maybe talk just about kind of what your plans are. I know y'all got some great plans to expand your operations and try to put some houses on the ground.
Oh yes. So we just broke ground today on the duplexes out on Brown Avenue. So you can drive by and see we're actually moving dirt now. So we have the duplexes that we're hoping will be finished late April, early May, and 2 families moving into those. And then we hope in fiscal year 2021 to build 3 houses. And so to do that, we're hoping to start a new application window for the builds in April and start another house in August. So that's a lot more than we've been doing the past few years. In addition, we plan to continue the repair program, which is mainly what the application was written around. We've already spent $6,500 in repairs, and since August, and we have several applications in the pipeline that are kind of waiting. Right now, we're regrouping our volunteer base so that we can address those repairs in a more timely manner, and looking at opening up application windows so that we can have a timeline for those homeowners and be more clear on when they can expect things to happen and be completed, and also communicate with our volunteers when we need their help more. So that application window the next one will open at the beginning of March. So we'll accept applications through the first 2 weeks of March. The committee and the board will review applications, and we'll start a new round of repairs in the spring when the weather's clearing up, because right now winter's always a bit of a difficult time doing
And
any
I
kind of
think the
construction.
6,500, it's important that that's free labor, so we haven't paid anything for labor. And that is a discount with our local people on the equipment and stuff that we need as well. So I know Jessica and I were just in Richmond with Habitat of Virginia, and a lot of the organizations there are focusing their repairs on seniors and veterans, but we really felt like we don't want to, lower that, because some of the repairs we have done are for people who have kids and stuff as well. And while it is important to help the people age at home, our applicants are open to everyone. Because right now I feel like it's a big epidemic, and that's our largest cost are like heating systems. A lot of people have been upset about their electric bills, but really your heating system only lasts 10 years. So how old is your heating system, Mr.
Oh, about 15 years old. I'm pretty
So
sure.
I myself, when I purchased a home, the heating system worked well, but our first electric bill before we even moved in was $600. So we're like, it's not working well. And after we changed it, our electric bill was more than half. So that's what we're finding. It's not so much that the electric bill is off the charts, it's their units have not been maintained. And now with the R22, as of January, you will not be able to purchase that. That is going to be even more costly. So we can't fix these. So the repair we're in right now, we had ordered a part for her HVAC unit. It was back ordered. Then the owner of AirServe came back and was like, we just can't get the part anymore. So we had to replace the whole system, which then increased our scope to $2,800 for that unit. So
And that was only part of the repair. So
so it will be a big challenge in trying to help the homeowners learn to save that little bit, for those HVAC units that are aging. If you have a 15 to 30-year-old system, it's costly to repair it.
So in addition to the builds and the repairs, part of Habitat is advocacy and education. So we're looking at revamping the program and the requirements that our homeowners, and looking at also having the repair applicants go through the same process where they have to go through they have to go through financial education, and that includes a homeownership education piece, and maybe providing some information to those repair applicants on homeownership and maintenance of their home, and what they can do to not come across those big surprises where they're all of a sudden it's way too much for me to handle. So, and as we start small, maybe with just our homeowners and our repair clients, then if it's going well, we can start sharing those resources with the community at large. So even if it's not somebody who's maybe going to use our services, that information is still available.
And we do have a volunteer home inspector, so we felt like that's important as we're doing repairs, that they are done properly and that we're checking the whole system. The repair we're in now, we weren't doing the electrical, but some of those things are hot that we're finding. So we don't want to leave it and have something else go wrong. And so we're even looking at home warranties, like can we get a discount and offer some sort of home warranty when we leave. So what if the roof goes bad, after we just repaired their HVAC, then finding affordable solutions to continued maintenance. I mean, if you've lived in the house for 30 years and they're going to live there another 20 or something, how can we make that future maintenance affordable?
How do you identify your clients? Do you guys advertise social media, or do you go through social services, or what is your?
A little both,
Of
actually.
okay.
We do get social services will refer people to us. Other aid agencies will refer people to us.
We're
I
getting
get a lot
calls
of
from
calls.
everywhere.
Yeah, I get a lot of calls.
Well, I
the
have
state
a
police
special
have
interest.
referred people
Right.
to
Yeah,
call
we're getting
me.
them from everywhere. so.
Okay.
But we do also advertise, and that's something with having the windows, we'll be able to, it'll make it, we can target the advertising to a specific time, and hopefully reach more people, because we're not just throwing out fluff information. This is exactly what you need to do in this window, and maybe more people will act on it. although we have more than enough acting on it now, but more people know. I just had somebody from West Virginia calling me. Like, I'm sorry, I can't help you, but I will try to figure out who can.
Because even with our regular applicants, they had to have lived in Warren County for a year. So while we've been getting people from Strasburg, but we immediately tell them they had to have been Warren County residents.
Yep.
So we have a lot going on.
Yes, you do.
Sounds like.
All right.
Well, we want to thank you very much for coming in to visit with us.
Thank you. I know it's so late night. I did bring cards for everybody. Oh, good.
They took over, Help with Housing used to be an organization that helped with people with repairs and stuff. And
Thank you.
they went away as an organization, and Habitat has filled that role for us.
Thank you
So it gives us somebody to refer people to that just to try to
You
find.
have my information. I've met with them about my teen models and their need for.
I know I was harassing right now.
Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Tab, you gotta skip ahead one, tab 16.
Yep, okay.
Okay, good evening. I'm Dick Hoover, Warren County Director and Chairman of the Lord Fairfax Soil and Water Conservation District. I bring you the greetings of two other Warren Countyans, Buck Richards, the other director from Warren County, and our distinguished, not that Buck is not distinguished, but our distinguished treasurer and associate director, Jim Martin. Neither one of them could be here this evening. The Lord Fairfax Soil and Water Conservation District is requesting $12,500 in budget support for the coming fiscal year. For those who may not know us, we are, at least we like to think of ourselves, as a highly motivated, high-performance conservation organization with millions of dollars of projects, whether completed, underway, or in the pipeline. One of the largest of the 47 soil and water conservation districts in the Commonwealth, Lord Fairfax administers the agricultural cost share programs in its 5 constituent jurisdictions. The counties of Clark, Frederick, Shenandoah, Warren, and in the city of Winchester. With regard to the federal, and by the way, if you have any questions, you just ask them at any time. With regard to the federal Chesapeake Bay cleanup mandate, and to the fact that the Shenandoah River runs right through us, Lord Fairfax is also named one of the Commonwealth's 10 key soil and water conservation districts. With a looming 2025 cleanup deadline and with a considerable distance still to go, some estimates put Virginia at 64% of completion. And with the state of the Chesapeake Bay report card ranging only from a D+ to a C-, Lord Fairfax thankfully received FY20 program funding to the tune of an outstanding $3.46 million. Accordingly, but you see, the thing is, the operations funding that will enable us to carry these programs out will enable us to keep the lights burning in the office and our vehicles going out into the field. While the program funding went up, the operations funding stayed at the same level that it's been at since 2003, which kind of puts us in a bind, and it means that our overextended staff is really doubling down, recruiting farmers for our best management practices, cost share programs, and to make sure that the projects we approve are carried out correctly and on time. Now, Virginia is only one of 6 states, plus the District of Columbia, federally tasked with the Bay cleanup. This is a big deal. Question, whatever Virginia and our Lord Fairfax district, whatever they can do, will it be enough to offset the other pollution challenges coming famously, say, from Baltimore or from the pollution-ridden Susquehanna River in Pennsylvania, which is the source of 1/2 of the Bay's fresh water intake? The Chesapeake Bay Foundation reports that Pennsylvania's plan to remove pollution from its farms and cities and to keep it out of the Susquehanna is woefully inadequate. It will be a challenge to remove the Chesapeake Bay from the EPA's dirty waters list by 2025. I'm just throwing that out as what I find to be an important piece of information. Now, here are some late-breaking figures, if you will, not contained in our December letter to Doug. Now that we are halfway through the program year, I would point out that the district has currently approved approximately 41% of the cost share program allocation. That is $3.46 million to be used for the agricultural BMPs throughout our whole district. Now, of that 41%, which has been obligated so far, and we're at the halfway point, about 115,000 has been obligated for projects here in Warren County. And I might point out there are other Warren County landowners who have conservation practices currently in the planning stages with our staff. They haven't been approved yet, but I think they're going toward approval. And I would also mention, for your information, that Lord Fairfax worked tirelessly with the DEQ, Department of Environmental Quality, to bring DuPont grant money totaling $364,000 to Warren County farmers. And Lord Fairfax, our district, contributed almost $20,000 to help make possible a total of 4 DuPont agricultural projects. 1 is completed and 3 are still under construction. In the last year, our education staff have delivered environmental education programming, to 435 Warren County residents, both youngsters and adults. Education staff have also begun, I would say, like a renewed partnership with Samuel's Public Library, and have hosted both adult and youth education events, focusing on, backyard conservation, rain gardens, soil health, and water quality. The following Warren County farmers and educators were recognized at our November 2019 annual awards luncheon. Gregory Husson received our Conservation Farm Award. The Conservation Teacher of the Year Award went to Cara Llewellyn of Skyline High School. Ladies and gentlemen of the Board of Supervisors, I hope you will give our request every consideration, and I hope you will conclude that our cause of clean water continues to deserve your support. if you have any questions, I'll try my best.
I've got a simple,
Got a what?
I've got a simple question, Mr. Hoover.
I'll give you a simple answer.
Are we gonna ever have clean water in Warren County?
This is an interesting question. I tell you, just when we think we're getting somewhere, and we have all of these organizations, Friends of the North Fork, and it just goes on. Out there, we've got our one of our associate board members, Bud Nagelboard, who's in the Conservation Hall of Fame. I've never seen a photograph of Bud, but he didn't have his pants rolled up to here, and he was in the water with some sampling bottle. Just when we think we're getting somewhere, there's a big rainfall, and it just turns everything
Back.
around.
Yep.
And there also, gosh, there's an article I saw today or yesterday in the Baltimore Sun that comes up with a new threat to the Chesapeake Bay, and that is the threat of deoxidization. That with heating, climate change, and what have you, the content of oxygen is declining in the waters until the only animals ultimately that can survive it are jellyfish. You know, if you can imagine that. I mean, that's a new direction in which we're going. What I really believe, and I don't know how this 2025 thing is going to come out, but I do believe if we're not doing all of this, keeping the critters out of our waters by fencing them out, you just won't believe how much one of those guys can lay down in a single day. If we don't promote the use of cover crops to keep the soil in place, if we don't promote nutrient management to get the farmers to use less fertilizers, if we don't embark, what we're now embarking on, a program of constructing manure storage facilities, if we don't do this, and if we haven't done so many of these things, the situation would be one hell of a lot worse. Now, I do believe that. Now, what's going to happen in 2025? What's going to happen in 2030? I don't know. I just know that measuring this stuff can be tricky. Measurements are subject to climate and other, variations. Will we ever get to the point where everything is clean? I don't know, but we're going in that direction, and things would be one heck of a lot worse without our guys, without our staff.
We were just talking today, Karen did a presentation, and she and I talked.
Right.
Manassas Run.
Yeah.
And looking at potential contamination and trying to really hone in on, is an animal, is a human?
Yeah.
Is it the drain fields or is it livestock? And if it's livestock, there may be a couple of projects there for you guys if you have some cost share money to fence out a lot of the horses, but close proximity there to
We're starting to become a lot more involved in equine management. We've been working with Wendy Gooditis, the 10th district delegate. She's a big horse lady, and at our awards banquet she spoke and reduced everyone to tears when she described how she rode horses to school when she was a little girl. That's how she got to class, So we're kind of working with her, and I know our staff is now alive to equine management, and I know Richmond, I'm talking about the Department of Conservation and Recreation, is starting to double down on this too.
We Appreciate it. And I appreciate you recognizing Greg. Greg's my next door neighbor, Houston.
Oh, really?
So I live back up to Clover Hill Farm, so
Uh-huh.
that's nice that, I know they've done a lot of work to restore
Yeah.
that farm and fence out the cattle out of the streams. And
Oh, yeah, that's
nice,
right.
nice of y'all to recognize him for all the work he's done.
It's a great talking point. You know, there can be, I don't know, a lot of people out there, and I can get their attention immediately, a little dramatically, when I say, you know, the Lord Fairfax Soil and Water Conservation District is all that stands between you and you finding something really revolting in your drinking water, you know, and that galvanizes a room.
You know, Greg's farm, the house contains part of Lord Fairfax's original hunting cabin.
Oh, really?
On that property.
Does it?
Clover Hill was expanded, the old Clover
Yeah,
Hill house.
That's great.
Yeah, we're done.
Well, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you
Chair, I
very
just want to recognize Connie sitting back here. Connie does all the work of helping to pull all this information together, and I appreciate everything she does.
Thank you,
And
Connie.
You'll see her a lot during budget season, and I would say this, that, you know, there will be, Walt and I talked today, that, you know, we've got some outside agencies coming on the tail end of the fourth meeting. We'll have department meetings on the 11th. You'll get revenue picture in early March, once we figure out what the General Assembly's doing. And then there'll be a time when we sit down specifically to go over these. That gives you plenty of time to read through the information if you want to reach out. If you want me to reach out, if you have any questions, you're certainly welcome to reach out. You've got emails, telephone numbers, contact information. Lots of good organizations doing lots of good. There is one on there at the end that we really didn't search
Just
out.
the regional airport.
About 10 years ago, the Board of Supervisors made the decision that even though we're technically part of Winchester Regional Airport, we're going to fund our own local airport, and they stopped making that $5,000 annual commitment. That was a decision the board made, which, you know, I understand completely. And obviously Frederick and Winchester heavily fund, if you look at the numbers, heavily fund that airport. But, you know, I think originally Warren was in there because, you know, Winchester Regional, we've had corporate folks that fly into the Exaltas and the Ciscos. I've flown out to go look at industrial projects out of Winchester. It was more for that corporate versus the private pilot stuff that we have locally. So they had sent the information. I told Con to stick it in the packet. I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just saying, here's the request. And obviously, we've got a tight budget season, so it makes it tougher to add stuff to the pot. But anybody who's made a request, we've put it in the packet, so you all have it.
I mean, half of his presentation I really liked, I didn't get. But that doesn't mean that I won't visit with him and try to understand what he's doing. But right at the end, I got exactly what he was talking about, which is great.
Majority of what they do is, again, it's working with farmers on conservation plans, manure storage, poultry litter. Of course, a lot less an issue in Warren. And Warren is mostly the kind of gentleman farming. It's people who work a factory job or have another job and have run cattle. But, you know, the big issue has always been, fence cattle out of a stream or the river, you got to put fence in and you got to have a water supply. Well, used to be it was 25 or 50% cost share money. Now they're getting 100% cost share money. There's always still that threat that the next flood comes through and wipes your fence out, and guess what? You as a farmer got to come up with the money to fence them out. But
Right.
hardening a water source, you know, put the concrete pad with a well and a pump, and you know, it freezes in the winter, and you got to maintain all that stuff. So there's a lot of electricity to the site, but they can help with all that, and they can bring people onto your farm and help you do those best practices to try to reduce the impact on the bay. And really, it's just about, you know, trying to hook the farmer up with the folks.
I mean, those that are farmers probably know more about this than I ever will. But, I mean, because I bet you didn't tell you anything you didn't know, right?
No, not
She
really.
knows it all.
Well, see, that's good.
That
That's good.
farmer's part you got.
I mean, you're the farmer part, and that's great. I mean, you're our arm, and that's important. Meeting adjourned.
I don't think a whole lot.
Yes, sir.
As a average citizen, you guys know that I come to lots of meetings and all, but I'm just, you know, I'm not one member of the board or anything. But tonight was an eye-opener for me, and I really appreciate you guys letting us be here. And I would have one suggestion or one question. All of these people that, from these different agencies, all had great, their visions and their projects are great. Is there some place, I saw that they gave out a booklet, but is there any one place, website or anything, where people, the average person, like I have a neighbor that needs some help. I can say, go here, and here's a list of all the places.
Oh, I got, so.
Of all the agencies, these people that were here, are they all listed in one place?
And my question on that same vein is, it seems to me what I was hearing a lot tonight was a lot of overlap.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
we've said the same.
Yeah,
Is
there
there
it is.
any way of
And-
getting these people
No.
to get some coordination between them?
There's not much overlap, really, at the end of the day. We talked about it before, previous years, but they all do a different piece. It's like the Friends of the Shenandoah and Lord Fairfax.
Well,
The
those
Friends
are-
are doing
I-
testing,
yeah.
but Lord Fairfax is doing the actual implementation, and they do work together on.
But a lot of
projects.
this that I was seeing, of the intervention, the domestic violence, all of this stuff, you had 4 or 5 different agencies, all doing the same thing.
Not really. I don't see them doing all of the same thing, because there was a lot of them that were looking strictly for children. There was one that was just basically saying, how can we help those kids get out of a bad situation? We got the House of Hope that's helping men. We've got the Phoenix Project. I mean, we've got all of these different ones, and they all sound somewhat similar, but they're not. Not when you really get down into the weeds on it.
And they probably, to my point about this list, if you
Yeah.
called the wrong place, they could say, well, you know what, we really don't do that, but these people do that.
I've complained. Well, I've complained about that as well, but as I've gotten into it, I've gotten to understand it a little bit better. And it's just talking to the people and saying, who can help,
But
or get me to
is there
somebody
a-
else.
So if you go on the App Store and you go there, you can download an app, and it's Warren County Resources, and it's a complete list of DSS we put together. Alzheimer's, in-home services, long-term care ombudsman, Meal on Wheels, Our Place Respite Center, Senior Helpline, Alcoholics Anonymous,
So it's
Autism,
Warren
Children's
County
Services.
Resources.
All there's like
Yeah.
there's like 50 organizations that provide all these level of services that they can click and go to. Right,
Are most of these people represented on there?
a lot of them, especially any of the ones dealing with the mental health intervention, homelessness, any of the social services related stuff. Are on
Yeah,
there.
that would be nice.
Kinda
To
surprised me
call
that there is
social
not
services and say, I have someone.
Start there, huh?
And
refuge.
it'd be an
Yes,
easy
there is
place,
not
just
one.
if you
I-
could.
There
agree.
was one, there was.
There was at
It-
one
it-
time.
It
There
was,
was
I
one
used to
time.
donate things to the store that they did underneath. So there was a woman, and then there was one on Virginia
Warren County
Avenue
Council
for
on
a
Domestic
while.
Violence.
It was the Warren County Council on Domestic Violence, and then they ran a store in the old Frank's building.
I remember that one.
And that store funded a lot of their efforts. And they had housing above it, I believe.
And when
Because
and when they ran the store with the volunteers,
right.
they were able to put a lot of money towards the operations. At some point, they transitioned to a lot of they were paying the tenants of the apartments to work, and their business model changed. You had a lot more competition in the thrift store business.
Right,
So
right.
their market kind of eroded,
Right.
and their funding eroded with it. And
They were the first thrift store in Front Royal, I
Yeah.
believe. I cannot remember. No, there were no
Probably
others.
besides
Right.
Salvation Army. I
Well,
think,
right,
yeah.
right, yes.
before Goodwill and before
Right.
some of the other ones. Yeah.
It was before
So
Goodwill.
Yeah.
and they basically went
I
under
agree.
from the,
Thrift stores, so she knows
and they had to
those.
sell the building and all that stuff. But
Yeah, so they ran it for a long time, and then they had a house on Virginia Avenue, and then the Phoenix Project rose up, and it's kind of become the arm, if you will.
And they taught that the federal government money financing is not, the federal government does not want you to provide a shelter and you to keep people in that same shelter for 2 years. They want you to give money out to get people, say, into an apartment for a couple months, get them on their feet, and then let them take off and go.
I agree.
So that's the shift in funding. There's no money for brick and mortar shelter, for them to go buy a building. Now, House of Hope has somebody looking to donate money to help them buy a facility. There's no grant money out there for it.
House of Hope sounds to me like Oxford House, if anybody's familiar with that. That's a international. It's exactly the same thing. It gets people living, groups of people with similar problems, living in an environment where they have to provide for their own, electric. Oxford House provides the house, and then these people that become residents have to maintain that house and have
And
to
the big
work.
thing they do is they do the drug and alcohol testing. So if you're going to be hot, you're not going to stay in.
No, that's exactly what Oxford House is.
Well, that's like Chris,
So it's the
it's not even
same.
the police force here.
Thank you for
Thank you,
coming.
folks.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting us be here.
It gives
You
you
got
an
your gavel
idea
over there?
of,
No.
it's hard decisions
It's been a long
that
day. See y'all later.
Build that steel a little bit